What is happening, ladies and gentlemen of League Zero, and welcome to the very first episode of The Countdown. This is intended to be our little version of Watchpoint. So, today we have 4 staff members. In future episodes we may have members of the community or the production crew, but today we have 4 staff members for you. We have Thanos himself, dividing.
Hello.
We have Knight.
Oh, hello.
We have Zach.
Hey there.
And of course I'm Acronator. So, the layout for this episode is going to be, we're going to be giving a brief recap of the draft. We're going to be giving our power rankings for the season for both divisions. We're going to be going over the games of the first week and our predictions as to who will win. And then we'll be giving you games to watch for this upcoming week, since all the games for each division will be happening at the exact same time. So with that, I'll give it over to Dividing for the draft recap.
Yeah, absolutely. As the host of the draft, both drafts this week, I thought it was a lot of fun being a part of the draft and watching it unfold as everyone came in. But we're gonna go ahead and start off by taking a look at the advanced draft, as that is the draft that we did first on last Saturday. So we're going to take a look at the either the draft order or the rosters. I'm not sure exactly what's going to be put up on the screen right now, but there should be some sort of information as to who ended up on each roster. And as far as that goes, I want to first talk about the teams that, in advance, that decided to use more protections than other teams. Teams like Easy Clap for... Teams like Easy Clap for Advanced, they decided to use 3 separate protections on their side. It was originally 4, but Flipside decided to leave. Does anyone have anything to say about why they think you think Easy Clap came to that decision? As most teams just protected their captain and/or their manager.
Well, I definitely think going into last season, Easy Clap was a very volatile team. They could either be the best, have the highest ceiling, or just completely tilt and get stomped by teams that they had no right losing to. So I think they kept some of the more stable players, the higher performers, and I think that means going into this season they might have a very good chance of completely stomping everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll add on to that. Like, the reason that they kept people while others didn't was, like, I mean, so, Newt and Crest had to both pull from the kind of Newt protect pool. So that already splits that down. And then, similarly, but not exactly, Z9, a lot of Z9's players became the people working and running the Chengdu Chads. So like Genie and Ducky, they all kind of shifted over to the Chads. So that also split, what was once a pretty reasonably doing well team. And of course, Go Again is gone, so...
Mm-hmm. Go Again is gone. I wanted to quickly, taking a look at the rosters here, I think there are definitely some factions that have formed in the advanced draft. Some groups that we can put together, some groups of people that stayed together. For example, we can say, Easy Clap, they kept a lot of the people that were there last season. You take a look at like Chengdu Chads, you see a lot of people from season 1 that are very recognizable. And you take a look at like, Crest also, They also kept a lot of people that were within their ranks in Season 1 with Newt with them. And Gengu Clan has a lot of people here who, at the very least, were involved with Rio Redemption. So what do you guys have to say about that, about these factions that have kind of formed within these teams?
I think the Chads is definitely going for the Squeaker Squad vibe. Just got all the good little kids.
Good little kids, huh? Yeah, you can definitely see that team has Zera, Melon, definitely a very talented DPS line from League Zero Season 1. They're definitely people to watch out for, as well as Bubbles, very talented. I believe I don't know what he plays usually, but I remember him the most from the grand finals of League Zero Season 0, where he had a clutch Graviton eat in order to let Z9 get their sole map win in that match on Junkertown right at the very end. That was one of the most fun moments I've ever had casting League Zero in Season 0. Does anyone have anything else to say? one more thing I want to touch on before we go ahead and move into the next grouping. We did have a bit of an update here based on the draft, but a couple of the draft people that were drafted ended up being inactive. So we had a couple people get swapped out. So instead of, I believe it was Garms, who was originally picked up by Crest, we have a Big Boy McMatt joining the Crest roster. And on Gengu Clan, I believe it was Dev H who was leaving, and he has been replaced by Ecology. So does anyone have anything to say about these late draft pickups and who they're what we can expect from them, especially coming into the roster a bit late into the season?
I'm definitely excited to see. Go ahead, Knight. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm glad that they had the foresight to see that these AFK people weren't gonna do anything for their team, and they were smart enough to get rid of them fast and get some more picks.
Personally, I'm very excited to see Big Boy McMatt on a team. He's a ridiculously talented tank. Granted, I'm extremely biased because he was on my team Plat Chat during Season 0. But it definitely didn't feel right that he didn't get on a team. And now that he is, even though Crest, I believe, has 3 main tanks, or possibly one of them I might be confusing with an off tank, but they have a very talented tank lineup, and I think that addition to Crest in particular will only bolster their ranks.
All right, thank you guys. So now we're going to go ahead and move on over to the novice division, where we have, like we said, One Trick Wonders had, I believe, the first pick overall in this grouping, and with the first pick, they decided to pick up Arrow, number 12476. Of course, the first round of the draft was all draft protects. From anyone here, if there's anyone here who's seen Arrow potentially in pugs or scrims and stuff like that, what can we say about this first draft selection from One Trick Wonders?
Unfortunately,
if anyone has seen him,
I don't recall seeing him in pugs, so I can't speak for his skill. But I have heard a lot of people in general chat talk about him quite a lot, so I'd have to assume he's quite good. There was quite a bit of hype.
Just from the player application form, he is one of those middle ground players, so his SR falls between that very small limited cutoff between, I think it was 2950 and 3050.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
So his calculated SR does come out to between that, and also based on this form, it looks like he plays main tank and off healer. So based on that, I would assume that One Trick Wonders is honestly probably trying to kind of build their team around, a strong main tank, much like other teams have done in the past, or even an Owl.
I think we can definitely say that, especially when with the second pick we had Double Cap taking King Genius, who I've definitely seen around in pugs, a very highly regarded main tank here in the novice division. Double Cap, they knew that was their guy. They've wanted him since day one. So it's good to see that he got onto that team. But as we look at the teams as a whole, I'm when it comes to the novice division, personally, there's a lot less recognizability for me. A lot of the people that I recognized from Season 0 ended up in advanced division. But is there anything that you guys notice as we look at the rosters as a whole?
I mean, somewhat unsurprisingly, the two teams that have kind of gone and picked up a lot of sort of recognizable names from both the main server and this server have been Plat Chat and Rio. Because, Plat Chat, you go and you see, Razor, you've got Santa Claus. For Rio, you go over, you see Tyranitar, you see Stanley on Discord. It's the very recognizable names that you tend to see, talking in chat and popping up. And
yeah,
it's interesting because, at the very least, Plat Chat definitely built their team around that last season.
Yeah, that's definitely a defined strategy that Boulders used, was trying to pick up players who were active and would make sure that they would be there for the team. And I think that that strategy did end up creating one of I think we could all say it was one of the best teams in League Zero last season. Even results-wise, they got third place. But also, I feel like that's a team that has that stuck together the most throughout the season. As far as players here, are there any players here that you are really excited for? Players that you really want to see, like players that you think are advanced division worthy, let's say that, even though they can't go up to advanced division at this point in the season until next season. Are there any players that stick out to you as players that we could be seeing in the advanced division next time around? I know that's a tough question, especially since there's a lot of people that we genuinely just like don't know much about yet. But if there's anyone that sticks out,
That is a very tough question. There are a few players that I'm excited to see just because they were, acquaintances of mine personally from last season, like Tyranitar. He was Platchat's content creator, and he was very excited too. But there's a few players that I know are quite talented, like Designs on Platchat, or Silver Star and One Trick Wonders. Individually, they're both very, very good. I don't quite know where their SR falls, so I can't say if they have the potential of climbing into Advanced Division for next season, but I think those are some currently unknown players that might pop off more than we could ever expect.
And
Silver Star only misses the middle ground cutoff by 17 SR.
Ah, okay.
Gotcha. So he's right there. So last thing to touch on before we move on from the draft, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the teams that have done a pretty good job of developing a good supporting staff and coaching staff. So we have Crest in Advanced Division, who has 3 separate coaches. I believe they have a coach for each of the 3 for support and DPS and tank. So that's a pretty cool thing for them. I'm pretty sure also one of these coaches used to be the coach of former North American Contenders team Bye Week. I don't 100% remember which one that is. I think it's Marson, but I'm not 100% sure. Meanwhile, we also have Newt there, who has a coach in Meeps, and also Ads there, a former League Zero manager, as an assistant manager there. And then in Novice, the 2 teams that really stick out are One Trick Wonders with Daffy Duck, Ulfgar, and the Strider, as well as Pepega Friends. As on our list, they have Jolmtree and Zimzif, but I don't think that's everyone that's there. I believe we have Tedison, who was a main tank who was going out for Advanced Division. He is not up. He is now coaching for Pepega Friends. We're doing something for Pepega Friends. And also, I believe they got someone named Snowman, who was originally on Crest, and he has now joined Pepega Friends. So, I mean, if there's anything you guys want to say about these large coaching staffs that have been developed, you can. I just wanted to give them a shout out, and the teams a shout out for developing a good support staff.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat it's going to be just time will tell, because, I mean, can be interesting, because, with Platchat, I can see, they have Oracle as a coach, and I already know that Oracle, has been an active person in chats and all that. And then meanwhile, over in Advanced Division, Hawk, I believe Hawk was a player for Newt now Crest before he moved to this supporting staff role. So I think it could be a good sign that we have, in general, more active coaches in supporting staff than we did last season, because I do know that seemed to be sort of a reoccurring problem, was teams picking up coaches and the coaches never not doing much.
Yeah, I guess it is a time will tell kind of situation. But with that out of the way, that will go ahead and conclude our draft recap section of our little podcast here. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our staff's power rankings. Knight, go ahead and take it away.
So at the top of all of our rankings, it's split down the middle. Crest or Chengdu Chads is at the top, and for the second row, Z9, it mostly dominates there, except for Acronator. But Z9 down at the bottom.
Yes.
Whoa, what's up
5th place.
down there?
So, with my power rankings, I will say right off the bat that the top 4 teams of mine are very easily interchangeable, possibly Easy Clap being 4th in there, but I think they also have the ceiling to be number 1. Whereas the bottom 2, my big concern there isn't so much the raw skill, because they very obviously have that. It's more so the volatility within their ranks. Are these players still going to be around mid-season, Many of them are active in, for example, Z9 has New York locals, very many of that core team on their roster. For those of you who don't know, that's a very high-ranking open division team. So is League Zero going to be their top priority? It's sort of that uncertainty that has me putting them down below, and they're going to have to prove themselves in that regard.
All right, thank you. And then all of us on the bottom with Gengu Clan, for probably the same reason as Acronator had Z9 at the bottom. Their management so far has seemed a little shaky.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said about the fact that the management for Gengu Clan is the only management in League Zero that has not been specifically put into place by staff. The captain for Gengu Clan was chosen by the manager, but then due to events that happened, the manager was no longer able to manage, which then meant the captain was promoted. And since then, Gengu Clan has, I don't want to say looked bad, but when I'm looking at their team's management in comparison to all of the other teams, Gengu Clan, to me, unfortunately, sticks out as the team that is currently being has the most shaky management.
Yeah. And in the novice division at the top, two of us, Acronator and I, have One Trick Wonders at the top, dividing with Pepega Friends at the top, and Zach with Plat Chats as their number 1. And then in the second row, we have Rio Redemption and One Trick Wonders alternating for the second spots. Just kind of like, I don't know. I kind of feel a little biased to Rio. I was on the team last season, so I feel like I kind of gotta put him up there.
Why did you put him number 1?
Well, they're not that good.
To be entirely fair, the amount of preparation One Trick Wonders has put into this season is baffling to me. Like, they are setting themselves up to be the next Go Again for Novice Division.
Yeah. When I was looking at teams and how they were going about preparing for the draft, One Trick Wonders had by far the most preparation that I saw. They had sheets of hundreds of players and notes from their VODs. Like freaking Ulfgar, one of their coaches, was spending like 30 hours a week watching VODs and taking notes. Dude is crazy. They've put so much effort into evaluating the draft pool, and I think they because of that have very much earned their top rankings. Everyone has them at first or second. So I feel like One Trick Wonders, if you take in playoff results from last season, came in dead last. But with the new management, Orbit and Sinop, they are doing a pretty good job, at least so far, of reversing that name.
Yep.
And
in the number 3 spot, we have Plat Chats in there twice, and Double Cap and Rear Redemption. I think Zach put that in the wrong spot. Should have been up 1. In the 4th spot, we have Pepega Friends down there twice, and that brings up dividing. Why do you have Pepega Friends at your number 1 in Novice when all of us are so low?
So I have Pepega Friends at number 1, because there's a couple of reasons behind that. First of all, I think the staff for Pepega Friends has been gone very under the radar, but they have put together a very, very solid staffing team. First of all, insert name here, Shafzilla. Personally, for me, one of the oldest and most well-known community members in the Dividing by Zero and League Zero communities. So he, and often known as a very trustworthy guy. So I very much like him as manager, and he picked up one of his former teammates, Gizzard, I believe, or a team captain who's a very good player in himself, which is awesome. And then I've already mentioned the staffing for Pepega Friends. Tedison, I think, is a very good pickup as a coach. Even if he does get picked up by an advanced team in Week 3, he definitely has a lot of knowledge about the game and will do a lot about it. Zimzif, I don't know much about Zimzif's past, but he did follow me on Twitter today, so that's pretty much like +3 in the power rankings. And then, I don't want to say too much, nor do I want to, I didn't want to put too much stock in this, but in the end, it is really all we have to go off of at this point in the season. From what I've heard, Pepega Friends has the Scrimbucks. They have a lot of the Scrimbucks.
All the Scrimbucks.
So that would be why I put Pepega Friends at the top.
Alright, thank you. And in the number 5 spot, Acronator is Double Cap dividing put Rio way too low. What's up with that? I had bot burgers down there in the number 5, and Zach had Pepega friends. In the number 6 spot, Acronator Dividing both had bot burgers, and myself and Zach both had double cap.
Can you explain the double cap picks to me? Because I was confused by that. I rated them pretty high because the massive amount of pugs that double cap put on, they had the opportunity to look at a lot of different people.
Well, I personally think they just have a lot of new people. I haven't seen many of their pugs, but they just have a lot of new people who haven't really like made a name for themselves yet. So I'm not sure exactly where they can go with that so far.
I will say personally for mine, unlike the Advanced Division where I really have like a top 4 and a bottom 2, for the Novice Division, it's all sort of clumped together. I do think, One Trick Wonders is at the top and Bot Burgers are on the bottom, but I also think that Bot Burgers has a good chance of taking a game off of One Trick Wonders, so it's all very, very close together, and I think the Novice Division is going to be incredibly interesting to analyze as the season goes on.
I think it is definitely good for people watching that may or may not be offended that their team is at the top or the bottom, to know that in the end, we don't know anything. We barely even know the names of half of the players here. We're going off of the best if we can, but in the end, these are all assumptions and gut feelings, pretty much.
And remember, everybody remember those preseason Overwatch League power rankings? Remember how wrong those were?
Valiant number 8, baby, can still happen.
And I would just like to have a message to any of the players or the teams watching this and you're not happy with our power rankings or our reasoning behind it. 3 words: prove us wrong.
Yeah, just if you're Gengu Clan, that should light a fire in you. You want to prove us wrong right now. You should get in, you should get scrimming, you should be getting together as a team to make sure that we look silly at the end. I hope you make us look silly at the end, because that would be hilarious.
Yes,
That'd be incredible.
Please prove us wrong, please.
Honestly, I do think that every single team in their respective division has the firepower to deal with this. It's really just their approach, their organization, their management, and how well they're going to come together as a team.
Oh yeah, this isn't... I wouldn't call this something like last season where some teams built for, all right, cool, let's, help work these players and work on that, and some teams built for, let's win.
Yeah.
Things are, especially with the Advanced Division and Novice Division split, I think things will be a lot more even, and considering the amount of improvement we saw from some players last season, I think that, especially like the very first week, and then going back and watching those VODs compared to week 10, I think that'll be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Yep, and that about wraps it up for the power rankings. Now Zach has the week 1 games and predictions.
Indeed. So, let's see. There's probably, there'll probably be a nice graphic up there, but in general, things are, there's only a binary choice, so people picked one thing or another, so I'll just go for the interesting things. So, alright, Acronator, why'd you pick Easy Clap over Z9 when the rest of us did the opposite?
I will say that I believe this is going to be a very close match, either 3-2 or 3-1 in favor of Easy Clap, but honestly, I feel like the reasons I stated before why I put Z9 so low, they have to prove themselves to me, whereas Easy Clap, I know the players that they have, especially 2/3 of their starting lineup. I know how good they are, and I can put my trust in their ability to just pop off.
That does seem fair. And similarly, for CC, which is something that...
Chengdu Chads.
There we go. There's the name. So, for Newt versus the Chengdu Chads, Dividing is the outlier, with having Newt defeating the Chads, while the rest of us have the Chads on top. Any insight there?
Yeah, this is mainly going off of, definitely the first parts of the season, I think that the teams that do a good job of gelling together the best, especially in the beginning, is going to be very, very valuable at this point in the season. And when I look at the Chengdu Chads, I see definitely a lot of very, very talented players, like I said before, Melon, Zera. A lot of people from the team, I don't know how many people know this, but GRD Esports, which is a team that formed out of the after League 0 Season 0, and this is kind of that team sort of reuniting in League Zero Season 1, but unfortunately, GRD did not meet a very happy ending. They all just sort of fell apart one day. I don't know 100% what happened, but there had to have been some sort of disagreements within that team, and that, in general, has made me very cautious about them. Meanwhile, you look at Newt, and you see a lot of people from League Zero Season 0 that are actually fairly controversy-free. You see Baz, who was the #1 pick. You see Nub, who was a very, very talented player for Platchats last season. You see players like Frozy, a very main tank last season, was very good. Definitely, and then and then you see like player like Pixel Storm, a guy who was in that middle area and was picked up for advanced. I think that he actually has a pretty decent chance of surprising people this season, and people, I think they were very smart in their new pickups like Meta and Meek and Lux are 3 people to say. So I think the way I've been rambling on for a while here, but my main point is that I think Chengdu Chads has the most firepower, just objectively, but I think Newt's going to put it together better, and that's what's going to put him on top.
That does seem reasonable. And then, unsurprisingly, if you saw the power rankings, we have all picked Crest over Gengu Clan, and once again, that's kind of just got to be a prove us wrong. I mean, the way we currently see it, Crest has a much larger amount of structure and solidity that Gengu Clan doesn't have, and I think that consistency will just win them over for the moment. But hey, anything can happen. And for the Novice Division, we are much more united. We are pretty much 100% saying Rio over Bot Burgers, and as well saying One Trick over Double Cap. And actually, the only swap is dividing Papega Friends over Platchat, while the rest of us have that swapped.
I think I've already explained why I rate Papega Friends so highly compared to everyone else. I think Platchats has a very decent chance of taking that game. I think that's a team that I personally feel like I know the least about in the Novice Division, so I think they have a decent chance of taking it, but I've already told you why I believe Papega Friends should be rated much higher than most people are rating them.
Oh yeah, like I can certainly see that. Like, a large majority of these games are just like, hey, these are our power rankings, therefore these people win.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple there. So we can probably get into that a little bit later because we're gonna hit the games to watch now. So like considering that all these games are gonna be happening at the same time, some might be recorded and played again later for your viewing pleasure, but if you had to choose one to watch live, what should you watch? And for the Advanced Division, we've almost all gone for Chengdu Chads versus Newt. And once again, the outlier is dividing for Z9 versus Easy Clap, which
I just like being contrarian.
Which, I mean, to be fair, like that could definitely show how well put together both of those teams are. And
I chose
lot of these first matches.
I chose that game definitely because I think Z9, Easy Clap are the 2 teams I know the least about their plan, basically, about what they are planning to do this season. So that excites me. I'm looking forward to tuning into that game and seeing how these teams are going to be approaching the season. But we do have 3 people choosing Chengdu Chads versus Newt. So if you all want to say why you give your pitch as why you think that game's going to be great.
Honestly, I chose the games for both divisions that I felt would be the closest. I think both of these games are going to go to map 5. Regardless of who wins, it could go either way, but I think these will be the most nail-biting games, personally.
I mean, yeah, I'd somewhat agree with that. I mean, at the same time, I do think that, like, it could be very interesting to see. I mean, especially, like, with, like, Newt, you've got, the #1 draft pick, Baz, versus, the kind of, as they have come to be called, the, Squeaker Squad, that group of younger players that's all very talented. So it could be interesting to see who kind of pops off and who pulls it out. All right. And for the Novice Division, we are much more split, probably because we all have differing opinions. Knight, you want to talk to us about why you chose Platchat versus Papega Friends?
Well, basically for the same reason that Akronator and I chose Chengdu Chads versus Newt. I just think that this will be the closest game, and I think that both Platchat and Pepega Friends have a pretty equal chance of winning. I think that Platchat just has a slight edge, but it'll probably go to map 5, and Pepega Friends still has a really good chance of winning there.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, I myself am an outlier, sort of, when half of us are. And I've chosen Rio versus Bod Burgers. I mean, A, because they're right next to each other in my power rankings, and then just B, I do feel that this could be a pretty close match. I think that it could be very interesting to see because, if I remember correctly, both of these... I mean, Bod Burgers especially has gone for, I believe, the minimum size team. They did not pick up anybody beyond the required 8. No, I think they went to 9.
I believe they have 9, yeah.
Yes,
they've gone to 9. So, nevertheless, I think it could be very interesting to see the sort of differing opinions where Rio is sort of this one-man Damien Dap shell. He's put the team together and somewhat been running it by himself, versus Bot Burgers, who have gone with a smaller team overall, but maybe that's helped them to gel more.
Yeah, for sure. And if I can go ahead and defend my pick, One Trick Wonders versus Double Cap, which means every team got some representation here, which means just open them all up at the same time, basically. But I think this is the game between the two teams that, from my personal perspective, did the most scouting prior to the league, and that interests me because these are the two teams that I believe put the most thought into their teams, and I think for the most part everyone got the players that they wanted, which is very interesting considering how they both ended up getting obviously completely different rosters. I'm very interested to see what this game will begin to piece together what the ideologies were behind the formation of these two teams, and then also who did a better job scouting. At least the first week, that we can't take too much away from it, but I think it will be a very solid, at least indicator of what is to come.
Oh, whoops! Looks like we accidentally leaked a new voice chat to some of the world. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and take a screenshot of this voice chat and put it in memes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Problem solved.
Ta-da. All right. That's just about it. I mean, we've kind of gone over those preliminary things. It's the start of the season. There's not super much to talk about. You've got your schedules. I mean, there's just kind of the overview. Like, if you somehow haven't heard, we have moved to that owl-style format, so it will be 4-map standard, 1 of each type, and then a tiebreaker at the end if necessary. The schedules are all out, so I'm sure you can find those on Twitter's or pinned in a post. I'm sure it's in announcements at the very least. Yeah.
All right, so I think we can call it a day for this one. So if you enjoyed this episode of the Countdown and you like the concept in general, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe to the League Zero YouTube channel. Ideally, we'll be doing this once every week, and then a few times during the post-season, but we'll work out those details as we get to that point. And please, of course, this is a pilot episode, it's a work in progress, so if you have any suggestions, please give them in the comment section below, and we will definitely be reading them.
Also, as we mentioned before, this isn't going to be just for the staff members here, but we want to try and get a mix of staff members and players and managers and maybe a production team on this countdown as well. If there's anyone that you want to see on the countdown next season or next week or weeks past, be sure to let us know and we'll try our best to figure something out with them.
I mean, yeah, like there'll almost probably be a staff member hosting it, but it might not even be the same guy every week.
Yep. And I will say that suggesting people that aren't yourself is going to go a lot further than saying, I should be on the countdown.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Just in general.
Shove.
Yeah. So does anyone else have any closing statements?
If you DM me saying, can I be on the countdown, I will not respond. Okay? Let's just get that out of the way.
If you DM any of us,
yeah.
Your chances will go down.
Yeah. Anyone have any closing statements, or are we good to go?
I just want to say that I've been working on putting this together for months now, and now that we are a week out, I could not be more excited to see how this turns out. Good luck to everybody.
Yes.
Sub to dividing and sub to PewDiePie.
Sub to this channel if you're not already.
Just sub
Yep.
sub to everything.
Yep.
Make that a
Everything in
quest.
existence.
Sub
Except
to every
you-
single channel you can find.
Except
Do
in
it.
theories.
Besides that one. Yes. Crap, how do I sign this off? I was almost going to go into my personal YouTube thing.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Good enough. See you next week.
Southbound.